You want to lose body fat, you want to look absolutely shredded, these are my results here, and I'm going to tell you the best thing that I've ever did for being in a fat loss phase was actually eating clean and eating whole food. So I'm going to go through it, and I know this is the hardest bit, honestly. Like, it's so much easier to eat the cheat things that are labeled like low calorie, high protein, or kind of cheat your way through it because it feels more sustainable, but I'm telling you, it actually ends up being harder from the symptoms that you experience eating these things. So I'm going to go through my experience and how I went through the stages of being in a calorie deficit and feeling all of the things, and why I ended up in this place of eating so clean, and how I'm able to also maintain it. Because at the end of the day, yes, you can lose all the body fat and get to your goals, but it's about also staying there. So first of all, again, whole foods and clean eating to me just means as many whole foods as possible. And when I'm getting packaged things, make sure I'm looking at the back and making sure that I know everything that's in it. As much as I can, try and avoid seed oils. They're really high inflammatory, and they're also just making my stomach feel really upset. And you can do as much research as you want on seed oils. I can go into a whole other video about it, but I was really looking at the back of things, making sure there was nothing I couldn't read, and it was as much whole foods as possible, and avoiding that stuff as much as I possibly could, including protein bars, things that were pre-packaged, etc. When I made the switch and I started just eating real food, essentially, and eating cleaner, I noticed that I had a lot less cravings, first of all, because I felt like what was happening was I was eating those things to fill a void. Maybe I had a sweet craving, or maybe I craved this thing in particular, like pizza, for example, and I was opting to foods that weren't necessarily like whole foods or real, and then it would kind of curb the craving for a little bit, and then I would crave it again and again, and then you would just want the real thing, or it just wasn't sustaining my hunger in the way that I wanted it to. It wasn't giving me energy, it was making me crash. You'll notice all of those things, especially when it's not real food, and I'm going to go into why that is. But also, when you eat clean of whole foods, you can get more volume out of it. So essentially, you'll find you're eating more of it rather than eating less of the thing you actually want. So you'll feel fuller and you'll feel more energized. So the reason for this is actually high fiber, and it's really that simple. So when I was really focusing on clean eating, my fiber was naturally higher, which again is going to increase your energy levels. Because say, for example, you can have the same amount of calories in a chocolate bar than you can have in a banana, but the banana has fiber in it, so it's going to give you energy for longer, whereas the chocolate bar is going to give you that spike and then you'll crash. So that's why you go through all of these emotions, maybe when you're on a daily basis, or when you're in a calorie deficit, going up and down, having these cravings and crashing, and then feeling tired and everything like that. So not only is fiber going to help you do that, but it's also going to make you feel full. So again, when you eat the chocolate bar versus the banana, you're going to feel fuller from the banana, and that's because of the fiber as well. And again, you're going to have more energy. So it was just a win-win situation for me. And I promise you, once you start taking these things out slowly, like you don't have to go cold turkey, but these foods are almost like they continuously create this craving pattern. So I find if one day if I have chocolate, I'll crave it the next day and the next day and the next day. So as you start to take it out, you'll find you don't crave those foods anymore for good reason. So I just found the slower I took it out, and the more I was progressively realizing how amazing it was just eating clean whole foods, the more I was seeing the benefits, and the easier it became, and the less I didn't want those foods, because then when I ate them, I didn't feel that good anyway. So I felt like those cheat foods were creating this cycle. So not only all of this, but I also found on top of it, when I switched my diet to more whole foods and clean eating, my inflammation dropped a ton. And I could see that in my face. I'm going to put a picture here of my face and what it looked like. Not only my bloating, I feel like I got rid of my bloating through a lot of supplements and gut health things, but again, eating cleaner, it's gonna help a lot of your gut health problems if you do have them as well. I felt like I was really leaning out in a way that I didn't feel puffy, because at the start I saw the fat loss results and the fat was coming off, but I still felt this sense of fluffy. I can't even explain it, and that's what I felt like. It was water retention. It was that inflammation, and I started getting rid of those things that were really high inflammatory, like these really high processed foods, and also things like coffee on an empty stomach, heaps of caffeine, energy drinks that are full of not good things. So once I started doing that, I really found like my results were really kicking in. So I hope this helps.